We're back.
Yes, we are.
Okay. A few weeks ago, we had Mr. Person
Right.
send us an email,
Mm-hmm.
which we responded to
Yep. On the video.
on the video. Now we have Ms. Person's reply.
How about that?
All right.
This ought to be fun.
You ready?
Sure.
David, I know you're going to have a lot to say.
Oh, really?
So should I pause in between?
Yes,
to
please.
Give you a chance?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay. Rather than reading the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It says, I am Ms. Person. Please read me.
Please read me.
Hi, Lori and David. Thank you so much for the work you do with the Nacho Kids podcast. I'm Ms. Person, and I really appreciate the insights you share. This approach has the potential to help so many families, including mine. I only wish I had found it earlier. She used ChatGPT, and you know how I know that long line?
The M dash?
Whatever that is.
That's got an M dash.
Okay.
But some people do use that.
Yeah. Well,
Anyway. But
I don't
yeah.
even know how to create that on my keyboard. Is it 2 lines, 2 dashes?
No.
Okay.
I don't know.
Anyway,
yeah.
maybe you didn't.
Keep
Maybe
going.
you didn't, Miss
Keep
Person.
waiting for you to say,
Hey, I use chat.
keep waiting for you to say, however, as you're reading it. Are you
Okay.
going to get to that?
Okay. I'm reaching out because my partner, Mr. Person, recently had a message featured on your podcast, 310. That was the number.
Yeah.
Where he spoke about my son being disrespectful. I wanted to offer some context to help give a fuller picture.
Here's my side of the story.
Here's my side of the story.
I don't blame you. I'll do it too.
No, I don't blame you at all. In fact, I'd be on the podcast, girl. But anyway, I try to get you on here. We've been together for almost 5 years, and both of our sons are 9 years old. Mr. Person has his child every other week, and I have full custody of mine. Our different cultural backgrounds and parenting styles have created challenges, especially when we've tried to parent each other's child.
Okay.
Why are you parenting each other's child?
All right.
All right, that's my question. All right. What's difficult is that Mr. Person tends to see my son as the problem, while assuming his son is blameless.
Of course.
But his son can also be disrespectful, especially when adults aren't around. He often bullies or provokes my son, ignores greetings, and expects everyone to stop and give him full attention whenever he wants it. This creates tension between the boys.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay. We'll stop right here.
Briefly.
Yeah. Just briefly. In our experience, it is better in the long run to let the boys solve their own issues.
Yes.
Unless it's, somebody's getting hurt, there's physical abuse or something happening. But if it's just they're aggravating, they're annoying, they're all these other things, it's better to let them figure that out. How to navigate it, how to deal with it, how to cope with it. Whatever the consequences that each other give to one another, like I'm not going to talk to you because you're being a douchebag today, whatever that looks like.
You're 9, don't say douchebag.
Whatever.
Right.
At 9, they're probably saying worse than that. But anyway, it gives them the opportunity to build a skill set that I think parents often don't allow kids to build, especially these days. Mm-hmm. The helicopter parents, they're swooping in and saving the kid, and you can't talk to my kid that way. And it feels right in the moment to say, I'm going to step in and defend my kid, take up for them, not let them be bullied. And bullying is a term that is such a wide spectrum of what that could mean. So I think people overuse it. I won't even get into that. However, when you let your kids figure those things out for themselves, they build a very, very unique skill set to be able to cope with not just what's going on in the family, but what's going on outside of the family.
Okay. My 3 cents. Kind of what David said. I know with Jackson, when the brothers, that's what we called them, still do, the brothers would do something to him that I didn't think was right, like pick on him or whatever. I kick into mama bear mode. Mm-hmm. I'm protecting my baby. I'm snatching him up and going to the kids.
Yeah.
But one day it hit me that I grew up with a sister 5 years older and a sister 5 years younger. We didn't consider it bullying. It was sibling rivalry. Mm-hmm. And some of the best memories I have with my sister
in a headlock
are us fighting. Like, I beat my little sister up for using my buff puff. That's gross. Using somebody's buff puff.
Yeah. I mean, I had a sister, not a brother, and we fought like cats and dogs.
Right. But it wasn't looked at as bullying.
No.
But if you've got two separate families, quote,
it is.
It falls under the bullying.
Yep.
But by me allowing Jackson to fend for himself, stand up for himself, teaching him how to do that, it helped him with those skills that David mentioned, but also it helped him build relationships with the brothers.
Yeah, because now at 20, when Jackson is confronted, if it's something he doesn't agree with, he'll stand up for himself.
100%.
He won't back down from it. And he's not bullying somebody else. He's not disrespectful about it.
He does it in a proper way.
Yep.
Yeah.
But even here, and here's the thing about it, even adults, if an adult were to ask him to do something that's not right, he will confront the adult. Again, not disrespectful, but he's learned to stand up for himself and what he feels is right in a way that he can stand on his own 2 feet.
Yep. All right. And of course, Ms. Person, he's going to say his child never does anything wrong. We all do that.
Yeah.
We don't want to admit it.
Well,
when they do something wrong.
There's 2 parts of that. One is you tend to minimize what your own kids do, and you tend to even see it as minimized. And then you tend to emphasize what the other kid does. You know, you go to any playground where parents are allowed, and you know, you're looking at your own kid playing and having fun, and you're smiling, and then you see all these other kids, and you know, it doesn't matter what they're doing. Like you're not happy for them. Does that make sense? Like you don't have the same feeling. And if something happens, you know, they can even be annoying. If your kids run around screaming, you're like, yeah, he's having such a good time. And then you get little Susie over there running around screaming, belongs to the neighbor. And you're like, oh my gosh, she's driving me crazy.
Yeah.
It's just the way things are.
It's the way that God protects you as a parent.
From eating your young.
There you go. All right. But even more frustrating is that Mr. Person himself sometimes escalates things. Oh, Mr. Person, you didn't tell us this. Instead of calming situations down, he engages in ways that push my son's buttons.
No.
Sometimes mocking his reactions or dismissing his attempts to set boundaries. We even came up with a safety word. That both boys agreed on to signal when one of them needs space. But when my son uses it, Mr. Person often gets annoyed or ignores it. When my son reacts, especially after being provoked, he's seen as disrespectful, even if he's trying to express himself calmly. Meanwhile, his son's behavior is rarely questioned. My son is becoming...
Let me stop right here, because I'm starting to see a lot of tit for tat.
Hang on.
Okay.
You ain't got much longer.
All right, go ahead.
Okay. Meanwhile, his son's behavior is rarely questioned. My son is becoming increasingly sad and withdrawn because he feels constantly judged and unwelcome, even in his own home. I know step-parenting is hard. I'm not trying to defend bad behavior, but I believe respect should go both ways, and kids need to feel safe, seen, and heard. I'd love if, in the future, you could address how adults can unintentionally contribute to tension and the importance of being fair when looking at both biological and stepchildren. Thank you again for your time and for giving families like ours tool to work through these challenges. Warmly, Ms. Person.
Warmly.
All right.
Okay, so there's a lot in that letter that is tit for tat.
But it's easy to do.
It is easy to do, but she's also given context. So again, I'm not saying she views everything as a tit for tat. So I'm having to read into this a little bit. And this is very common. And we did it too. And sometimes we still do it. We just know we're doing it.
We laugh at it now. For your kid.
Yeah. And it's challenging because it becomes one of those things that's stands in your way of making the right changes, because you can't look at, let's just say your kid. You look at your kid and you're like, okay, here's what we need to fix. However, we can't fix this until you address what your kid's doing.
Mhm.
And then he's like, well, yeah, my kid's doing this thing, but we can't fix this till your kids. And I'm like, oh gosh, nobody's moving anywhere. Nobody's getting anything done.
Yeah, you had to stand still.
Yeah, because everybody's like,
Nobody's willing to give.
yeah, I know you are, but what am I? I know you are. But
I'm rubber, you're glue.
It becomes that thing where it's like, okay, somebody's got to move first.
Right.
And that's where we see a lot of problems with that. So I would recommend trying to step back a little bit and looking at where do you contribute to the problems? Where does your son contribute to the problems?
Now, this is for both people.
Yeah, this is for both.
Mr. and Mrs.
Right. So step back individually and see where the contribution is, because I guarantee you both sides are contributing to the problem in some way.
Right.
Find out what those are, and then come to an agreement about what you're going to address, and understand you can't fix everything. And if you're going with, well, I know my kid is X, but yours is X too. Okay, but that doesn't solve anything.
My turn?
Yes.
Okay. It does concern me that your son is being withdrawn and feels judged and unwelcome.
Mm-hmm.
So Mr. Person does need to stop doing those things that cause him to feel that way.
Absolutely.
If that means he's parenting him, he needs to stop.
You shouldn't be mocking him anyway.
I was getting there. Mocking somebody can be done in fun. But when it's an adult mocking a kid, the kid doesn't see it that way.
Mm-hmm.
And there's even an instance my son was talking about, a friend of his, somebody was picking on him. He's an easy target, right? So
yeah, the friend.
Yeah, the friend's an easy target.
Yep.
Well, he said after the first 2 times, it was funny the first 2 times, but then after that, it's like I wanted to beat the person up that was saying that to my friend.
Mm-hmm.
Because you've got to create those limits.
Yep.
So no, your partner should not be mocking your son. He may be a button pusher.
I am a button pusher.
Which I get. And David pushes my buttons, y'all. Y'all know this. If you've listened to one podcast, you know this. But the thing is,
your son pushes your buttons.
Mr. Person may be a button pusher. So he may not be intentionally trying to rile your son up, right? It's just his nature to be a button pusher. So what you do is you teach your son how to not be affected by the button pushing and to not stand around and wait for it. So once he hears the button pushing coming, you need to tell your son, it's okay to look at your partner and say, you're making me feel upset. I need to take a break.
Mm-hmm.
Teach your kids the tools that we're teaching you. It's okay to not stand there and take it. Now, there's a proper way to do it. A 9-year-old being told something and he doesn't like it should not go, you're not my dad. I hate you. You can keep your mouth shut. Beep, 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 beep. Your child can say, what you are saying upsets me and I need some space or I need some time. Now, I understand that each of the children have been given a safe word.
Good idea, by the way.
Right. But it's not being adhered to.
Right.
So you and your partner need to talk about the safe word thing's not working. What's our other options? Because remember, y'all are a team.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. and Ms. Person are a team. Neither one of you wants your kids to feel unloved, unwanted, disrespected, any of that. So what can you do as a team to make that happen? And one of the things that you mentioned was that the stepkid ignores greetings. Mine did that. So stop greeting them if that bothers you. If they come in and you go, hey, good to see you. And they just act like you're a ghost. You didn't say nothing. They didn't hear anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you mad or upsets you or you think it's disrespectful. Stop doing it. You're kind of creating that situation.
Yeah. Wait for them. If he comes in the door and he says, hey, then say hey back.
Right.
If he says nothing, don't say nothing.
And this isn't about the kid going in, I'm going to be disrespectful to her. Right? Or I'm going to be disrespectful. Usually it's their mood. We were raised, if an adult speaks to you, you respond appropriately.
Right.
Kids weren't raised that way nowadays.
Yeah. Not only that, but there's a lot of other things that could be going on. You don't know if, is mom involved or some other family member involved, and they're telling them, you can't like her. And that, they're dealing with that. Like I come in the door, I can't say anything to her because if I do, then, I'm going to hurt my mommy's feelings or whoever else might be in their ear.
Right. And remember too, these kids are 9. They're going to have days that they're buddies, days that they hate each other. That's part of being siblings. And it's that fine line between siblings and bullying, right?
Yeah. I mean, there were times when my kids they were throwing down.
Yeah.
I never really looked at it as bullying. But anyway, that said, one of the things that popped in my head is that Mr. Person, he may be mocking the step kid because he's resentful for some reason. Like he could be resentful that you're not stepping up as a parent and addressing issues, or he's resentful because of how his kid feels about something or something else. We see times where the parent or the adult is acting out or displaying some kind of behavior because they have some type of bottled up resentment about what's going on. And it could come out that way. It really boils down to you two either, if you can't do it yourself, then you need to have somebody who's a mediator, whether it's a therapist, a counselor, a coach. We do coaching if you want to talk about coaching, but you need somebody that can sit you guys down and say, look, here are the problems we're having. Let's address the problems, not the people. Because what happens more times than not is everybody's addressing the people. Your son, your daughter, you, whatever. It's all this, your son did this, your son did that. Forget all the who did it. Like what's the behavior that we're trying to eliminate?
Right. Now, one thing too I want to mention is you said you have your kid full time. So I don't know if they see their bio dad at all.
Right.
That's kind of important to know because if their bio dad's not present, then that could make them more sensitive to the stepdad scenario and things like that. And that could actually cause the child's unhappiness more so than the issues with the blend.
Yeah.
But also the fact that you have your child full time and he has his every other week. It was like David and I. Your partner could be jealous. I don't know if that's the right word.
Well, it could be jealous or resentful. Like you got your kid all the time and I don't have mine but half the time.
Right.
I mean, I went through a lot of emotions with that, and most of which I never shared with you during that time.
Right.
And you would make comments sometimes.
I miss my baby.
Yeah, like your kid's going to see his dad for the weekend. And you're like all distraught. And I'm like, I have to go a week at a time. I don't want to hear you whining. That's
Thank God you didn't say that.
That's what I felt like.
Or this would be the Lori and David divorce show.
It would be just the Lori show. I didn't say that because it wasn't fair. Like her feelings were legitimate and her feelings were real.
Just as real as yours were.
And it wasn't fair for me to compare. Like, I'm without mine for 7 days and you're only 2, so you should suck it up, Buttercup. Right. That's not fair.
No. You can't compare hurts.
No. Now, did I feel that way? Did I feel it wasn't fair? Sure, I did. But I wasn't going to bring that out in how I treated her or how we talked about it or anything, because I understood that it was feelings that were not proper. They're in a lot of ways, they weren't real.
Right.
You know, I'm dealing with my emotions that has nothing to do with her emotions. So,
Well, and something else too is when you start talking about, sorry, I got to go back and look. I'd love it if in the future you could address how adults can unintentionally contribute to tension and the importance of being fair when looking at both biological and stepchildren.
mhm.
Fair.
Oh, that F word.
I don't know that you can be 100% fair
You can't be.
because with my bio kid, let me do a little heart over my eyes. I've got the lens of love. With the stepkids, I don't. If anything, I have a lens of a microscope because I'm going to see everything they do wrong.
Trust me, everything.
Everything. Yes, it's important to not treat the children unfairly intentionally.
Yeah. And some of that's easy. Like if I
Don't-
go to the store and buy a candy bar for my kid, then it would not be fair if I didn't buy a candy bar for the stepkid.
Right. Unless the stepkid's not here at the time, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So there's sometimes, or we go through the drive-through at McDonald's as a family, and I get my kid something and don't get anything for anybody else, or don't even offer.
Oh man, that reminded me. My son told me a story one time of his dad's girlfriend took him and her son was a little bit older,
Yeah.
to McDonald's. Did not get my son anything. Then when they got back, my son told his dad he was hungry, and he said, "No, you just ate McDonald's." Well, right or wrong, my son did not say, "Well, so-and-so didn't get me anything to eat."
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, he was probably 4.
No, she was older than that.
5? Yeah, 4 or 5.
No,
Yeah.
I'd say probably 7.
Okay, whatever. But that was something that we need to give him tools on.
Mm-hmm.
So when he told me that, unfortunately, it was years later.
It's still traumatized.
Well, I'm traumatized by it. I'm thinking, my poor baby didn't get to eat. And I mean, there was a lot of things that happened with this one girlfriend. But anyway, I don't know that you can be 100% fair.
Not in everything. I mean, I have 4 kids, and it is very easy for me to look at even my kids and say, I wasn't fair to each of them in different times, depending on different things.
Because they're different individuals.
Yeah.
One of them, he didn't care if you took his phone away.
Nope.
Because he just played games.
Yep.
One of them didn't care if you told him he could never go out again because he never did in the first place.
Yeah. So they're all different. And yeah, I don't think there was too many times when you can look at stuff and say it was fair. Again, when it's easy to measure, yes. When it's, did you get everybody a candy bar? That's easy to measure fairness.
Well, and 2, I remember one time Jackson was sitting on the couch.
Mm-hmm.
You were aggravated. It's probably a Saturday since you get aggravated on Saturdays. And
that's your perception.
It's the truth. And I remember you looked at Jackson and you were like, why don't you get up off the couch and do something? Get your butt up off the couch and do something. And I was like, what'd you say? And I said, no, sir. You do not talk to your kids that way. You're not going to talk to mine that way. And you looked at me and there was a pause and you're like, you're right. I was shocked. They said I was right. But the thing about it is he did not realize it. You don't intentionally go, hey, I'm just going to be, rude to this kid. They're not mine.
That's what that pause was. I was like, huh, do I talk to my kids that way?
No, you don't.
I know. That's why I paused. I'm thinking through it. Maybe I don't talk to them that way.
But I think it's more important for you, Miss Person, to understand that the quote, quote, unfair treatment is not intentional. It's not a diss against your kid. It's not a diss against you. It's just, they're not their kid. They're not their kid. You cannot expect someone to treat someone else's kids the same way they do their own.
In some cases, you might not want them to treat your kid the same way.
Yeah. You want them to be treated the same until you discipline the step kid. And then it's, you don't do that about kid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot here. I really would like to talk to you, Miss Person. I'd like to get both of you on the podcast. That'd be good. That'd be a good one. But it's important to not show favoritism blatantly.
Yep.
And it's important to not mock children, Mr. Person.
He's probably like, I don't do that.
Yeah. But also, I will.
You know what's going to happen, right? Like they're going to watch these things together and it's going to turn into a big old battle.
Yeah. Every other week is going to be Mr. and Mrs. Person.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I want both of you to know that you've been in this blend 5 years. I think that's what it was.
Yep.
5 years. Your kids were 4 when you got together. Things have changed.
Oh, yeah.
Things are going to continue to change. Puberty's coming.
Yeah. I'll tell you this, and you ain't going to want to hear it.
Oh, Lord.
It's not going to get any easier to solve these problems now because other problems are right around the corner, and you need the tools to deal with what you have today and deal with what's coming in the future, but you're going to have to do it as a team.
Right.
So, like I said before, call us if you need coaching, go find a therapist, counselor, whatever, but you've got to get these things fixed now because you need this solid foundation for what's coming.
And you've already built up some resentment.
Yep. So,
and that's just going to keep building.
Yep. You got some work to do.
Yep.
So don't ignore it. Both of you, look, you're both engaged. You both have sent us messages. You're both listening to the podcast. I think you want what's best for you and your family, but you're going to have to take another step forward. It's going to have to go beyond listening to a podcast or emailing.
Well, and one last thing I want to say is your partner treating your child differently is because they have a different relationship with that child, too.
Mm-hmm.
They've known them for 5 years. That's a pretty long time. These kids were 4.
That's their life.
Yeah, they probably don't remember much before.
Right.
But maybe talking to your partner and saying, look, he can look up to you as a father figure. And if you're going around mocking people, what do you think he's going to do? He's going to start mocking people. He's going to mock your son. And then your son's going to get mad. And then you're going to get mad because my kid's doing what you're doing to him.
Yeah. That's another thing that I saw. I don't know that you saw it or not, but when my relationship with Lori was strained, my kids were harder to deal with for her. And I think they also were harder on Jackson.
100%.
When they saw a strain between me and her, my kids defended me however they knew how at that age, which is these two people are our enemy because they're treating our dad wrong, and we're gonna make their lives miserable because of it.
Right. I was going through some stuff the other day, some old podcast notes, and I ran across the one that Avery was on our podcast. And one of the notes that I took was Lori favored Jackson. He's my kid.
Yeah.
What do you expect?
Well, that's just it.
Right.
They expect you to not do that.
Right. Until it comes to discipline. Even the kids are that way.
Oh, yeah.
We want Lori to do everything she does for Jackson, but we don't want her to fuss at us like she does him, or we don't want her to punish us like she does him. They don't want that.
Yeah. I want all the good, none of the bad.
Just like the dad. So anyway, Ms. Person, thank you for reaching out to us.
Yeah.
And telling us your side.
Yeah. And I know we probably speculated a lot, but we went with what we had.
Yep. All right.
Until next time, remember, life is good
when you nacho properly.